Hi guys, this is our distributed spline tab help file. So we're going to talk about just sort of getting started. So when you first create a cyclone, everything's going to be disabled in here, and the first thing you're going to need to do is add a shape, which is your distributed path. Once you do that, you're going to look at, there's going to be three different types of scatters that you can use. There's orientation on the spline for direction and orientation, and you can also detach your spline from the path. So, good example of this is, let's go into this cyclone here, and we'll talk about the different scatter types. For something a little more complex, you're going to use an individual pattern. So stuff like a tube station, you're going to want an individual pattern because you're going to want different stuff to have their own spacing. Simpler stuff like fences, and you can see the taller one, I'm using a post object here as posts. You can go in and use a random pattern or an ordered pattern on railings, but those are for very simple stuff. So the majority of your stuff probably you're going to use an individual pattern. The orientation stuff, so if I go into, let's just say, I'll raise this spline up, you can see that all the shapes are going straight up. So to orient, just go in here and say use spline orientation. They're all going to be sort of tilting from that spline's normal. Also following the spline direction, so it's going to actually put every object straight. Follow spline direction, it's going to rotate them, of course, following same thing that a spline direction would do in a path constraint. And then the last thing is down here you have the interpolation steps of your spline itself. So it just makes it a little easier. Instead of going down into the sub-object, you can just change that setting here. When it gets to, and you can sort of notice here that the shapes aren't going in the right direction. So you want to make sure on stuff like this that you're following spline's orientation. And you can see these back bars here. I'll just toggle this on and off again, but you can see that they're straight or they follow actually that spline's orientation. Display types. We have quite a few different display types. So we have none, in case you need to really keep it light, and it's just going to show the cyclone's logo. We have a dot, and what that'll do is on every shape, it's going to put a dot on its knot, and every object, it's just going to give you one single dot, except for the lights themselves. The lights themselves will have a shape. Down to bounding box. Bounding box is just going to draw you some lines, basically give you the same thing you would be in sort of wireframe view for the sweeps, but bounding box for the shapes. We have a point cloud mode, which is adjustable, and the adjustment is not on the shapes, it's on the distributed objects that you get an adjustment. Then we have pyramid mode, and pyramid mode will give you all its shapes, but then give you the bounding box size of your scattered objects or distributed objects. We have squirrel mode, because everybody likes that one. And we have the original object. So the last thing that we have in here, oops, go to original object. The last setting down here is select cyclone objects and update. If you were to go through and select one of your materials on your spline and do changes to that, you will need to go through and use this update objects to update those materials. We're not doing a live look back on the materials. Each time you load the file freshly, it would go and do that, but not on every change. So that's your update button for that. And then we have select all cyclone objects. This is used to do a save select. So it's going to go find every object that is in that cyclone, plus select the cyclone and your distribution spline. So it's pretty much, if you need to save selection of this cyclone, that's what you want to use this select cyclone objects. That's it for our distributed spline tab. Any other information you need, just go search our help forum. Thanks a lot, guys. See you.